Mark woke to a silent, powerless apartment, initially dismissing his neighbor's frantic calls through the door as routine morning nuisance. But irritation quickly spiraled into dread when a screeching mechanical noise echoed from outside his window, revealing that unknown forces had forcefully sealed his home shut from the outside. The soothing, automated voice of the building's intercom repeatedly urged residents to remain calm, blaming the lockdown on a simple gas leak. Yet the stark reality outside told a far more sinister story. Heavily armed snipers, positioned on rooftops, and specialized containment teams in hazardous materials suits transforming their home into a quarantine zone. Isolation was abruptly shattered when Sergei, a formidable neighbor, smashed a hole straight through the adjoining walls to unite the trapped residents. Driven by the philosophy of strength in numbers, Mark found himself thrust into a makeshift alliance with an eclectic group of strangers, including Sally, Enid, and a young boy named Niko. Realizing that no rescue was coming, the group pooled their diverse skills and meager supplies to engineer an escape. Using an artist's knowledge of corrosive materials and household chemicals, they attempted to melt the heavy plastics sealing them in, a desperate and sputtering experiment to break the perimeter. When the opportunity presented itself, the desperate survivors crossed a point of no return by dragging one of the hazmat workers, Hazel, through a breached grate and taking her hostage. Stripped of her protective gear, she became their only source of truth against the government's wall of terrifying secrecy. Hazel revealed the horrifying reality of the situation. A highly contagious, wildly unpredictable virus had been silently spreading for a month. Explained that the infection rapidly attacks the throat, stealing the victim's voice and breath, before triggering rapid macular degeneration that leaves the infected in agonizing permanent blindness. Amidst the despair, a fragile glimmer of hope materialized when Hazel produced a prototype vaccine from her medical kit. However, this revelation immediately fractured the group's fragile unity, as they realized the dosage was far too low to save everyone, igniting a silent, desperate calculus of who deserved to survive. The secrecy of their sanctuary was broken when word spread through the building that the residents upstairs were holding a medical worker and the only known vaccine. Driven mad by fear, sickness, and the agonizing symptoms of the virus, a mob of infected neighbors besieged the apartment, demanding salvation at any cost. Despite their desperate attempts to barricade the doors, the sheer force of the terrified mob breached the apartment's defenses. In the ensuing chaos, Sally was violently dragged into the horde. As they tore the place apart searching for the prototype, leaving the survivors horrified and severely outnumbered. Determining that the situation inside the block had degraded beyond all recovery, the military authorities outside escalated their containment protocols. Lethal, suffocating gas began pumping through the ventilation systems and seeping under the doors, a merciless tactic designed to pacify the building and bury the truth. With the lower floors swarming with the infected and lethal gas flooding their apartment, the remaining survivors had only one direction left to run. Coughing and blinded by the smoke, Mark, Sergei, Enid, and young Niko began a harrowing, frantic ascent toward the roof, hoping to find clean air before their lungs gave out. The desperate climb stripped away the last remnants of humanity as panic, paranoia, and the creeping symptoms of the virus turned the residents against one another. In the suffocating darkness of the stairwell, former allies were left behind or violently betrayed, proving that the terror inside the building was just as deadly as the sickness outside. Amidst the absolute brutality of the upper floors, a deranged survivor attempted to abduct young Niko, believing the boy was his only ticket to safety. Pushed beyond his limits, Mark intervened. throwing himself between the weapon and the child to ensure that at least one innocent life might escape the nightmare. Mortally wounded in the struggle to protect the boy, Mark realized his journey had come to an end in the darkened corridors of the containment zone. With his final breaths, he handed Niko a secret phone number, instructing the child to run to the perimeter and send a message to a woman named Karen who would keep him safe. Niko finally emerged into the cold night air, alone where he was immediately intercepted by the heavily armed hazmat authorities. As the radio communications coldly announced the expansion of the containment zone, the boy was led into the dark, carrying the heavy, silent memory of those who sacrificed everything to get him out.
Thank you for watching. We are truly honored to have you here. To support our channel and stay updated on new content, please subscribe, hit the notification bell, and give this video a thumbs up. Your support helps us keep creating.